Believe in yourself, 'cause it starts with you, and then everyone else will believe you too. And if it looks like you're the only believer around, just keep on believing, don't put yourself down, just believe.
Our guest this week grew up in Detroit, Michigan. In 1975, a 15-minute encounter transformed his life and tens of thousands of others as well. He earned a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Michigan and an MD from Wayne State University School of Medicine. He's a world-class cardiothoracic surgeon who has performed over 8,000 heart surgeries, and he has witnessed numerous miracles. His name, Dr. Phillip Robinson, and we're honored to have him as our guest. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. I'm Jack Krasula. This is Anything is Possible, and we're talking to Dr. Phillip Robinson. He's the epitome of a world-class cardiothoracic surgeon who has fantastic bedside manners. Doctor, welcome. An honor to have us.
Well, thank you, Jack. Nice to be here.
Can you lead us, please, in an opening prayer?
So this is a prayer that I usually say before each surgery. Heart surgery is a very traumatic experience emotionally for the patient and also for the surgeon. So for me, this always is a very calming effect on a lot of patients, but especially on me. But I'll always say, dear God, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to help your child. We know that all things are in your hands, that their life is in your hands. I pray that you would protect them and that we have the outcome that you wish. I pray for my team and myself that you would lead and guide us in our directions and our decision-making and our skills. May we use them to the best of our ability for your honor. All these things we ask in your name. Amen.
That's Dr. Phillip Robinson. He's prayed that prayer over 8,000 times before performing heart surgery. Let's go back, Doctor. Your childhood, your mom and your dad.
So my mom and dad were both from the South. My father was from Tennessee and my mom was from Alabama. They were each one of 10 kids, so I have lots of aunts and uncles and cousins. But my grandparents were farmers. So my background mainly was an agricultural one, and my father was in World War II. He was an anti-aircraft gunner in New Guinea. And when he came back from the war, tried his hand at farming, but wasn't very successful at that. But the auto factories in Detroit were hiring, and so he moved to Detroit and got a job in a small machine shop that made automotive parts as a supplier to the auto companies.
What's the biggest thing you learned from Mom, and what's the biggest thing you learned from Dad?
My dad, I learned to be content. My dad, my dad was the only person I've ever met that was totally content with his life. We was not rich, but he enjoyed his family. He enjoyed working, and he never really wanted much more than what he had, just to be a good provider. And so I would say that he taught me that you can be content without things. My mom is really the Christian influence in my life. She always made sure we were at Sunday school and the Sunday morning service and the Wednesday service and the Thursday service. So my mom was a very devout Christian, and I watched her many hours read the Bible and underline and try and teach us. There wasn't a room in our house that didn't have a scripture on the wall in some form, either as a crocheted or knitted sign or just a placard. So it was our mom that was really the persistent one for taking us to church and made sure that we got there every Sunday.
Speaking of war, you got drafted in 1972, Vietnam, and then because of that, you joined the U.S. Air Force.
I did. And I thank my brother-in-law for this the other day. My brother-in-law was drafted and went to Vietnam, and he was injured and shot there and had a very traumatic time, very difficult time when he came back from the war. So when I got drafted in the summer of '72, he had been back for maybe a year. And his advice to me was that I should seek out talking to either the Air Force or the Navy to see if there was a different skill set that I could learn rather than just becoming an infantry like he was and going to Vietnam. So with that, I talked to the Air Force. And initially, they weren't that keen on taking me because I'd already been drafted. But they gave me an entrance exam and said if I did well on that exam, then they would take me. But realizing that instead of 2 years, I would have to make a 4-year commitment. And at that time, I had finished high school a couple years early. And I felt, well, I had 2 extra years to give, and who knows what skill set they would teach me in the service. So I wound up joining the Air Force.
Your dream was to be a fighter pilot. Doc, you could have been Maverick in a Top Gun. There'd be no Tom Cruise.
That still is my dream. Not really, but I had never had any exposure to a fighter pilot, but once I the Air Force had promised me that when I went in, I was going to be a language specialist. I wasn't sure what that meant, but they threw me a curveball at the end of boot camp and said, "Oh, we're going to make you a weapons guy." So I used to work on the air-to-air missiles and bombing computers on an F-4. And so I would see all these young pilots come out that weren't a whole lot older than me, but I was just in awe of them crawling in these jets and doing all the things that I wished I could do. And at that point, I thought the only difference between me and them is they finished college and I had quit. So the Air Force had several programs to help you along in various ways, and one of them was an officer program that if you had some college experience, you could apply, and on your own time, you could go to college and earn your degree and then come back in as an officer. So I applied for that program and was going through the testing and had done, I thought, fairly well until we got to the eye exam, and I couldn't pass the eye exam.
We're talking to Dr. Phillip Robinson. When we come back, speaking of in awe, in 1975, a 15-minute experience transformed your life, Doctor, and tens of thousands of others as well. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. I'm Jack Krasula. This is Anything is Possible. We're talking to Dr. Phillip Robinson. He's a modern-day Robert Young, a.k.a. Dr. Marcus Welby, M.D. All right, 1975, a 15-minute experience. Wow.
So this was probably the big turning point in my life. I had, after I was through my military school, which was about a year, I spent about 4 months in Arizona and then got sent to Kunsan, Korea. And I spent 16 months there. So by the time I came back, I had a little over a year to left in my initial commitment. And the Air Force was offering me several incentives to stay and enlist for another 6 years, and I just knew that's not really what I wanted to do. If I couldn't be a fighter pilot, I didn't want to be in the Air Force. And the job that I'd had when I got drafted was working on an assembly line at the Fleetwood plant just off of 75, and I knew now I didn't want to go back to that job, and this was really weighing on my mind. What was I going to do when I got out? I think I was 22 or 23 at that point, and anyway, I got where this would wake me up at night, and I would just worry about this decision. And so I got up one night, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, as I remember, and we had a large recreation room, and I was the only one in there, and I turned on the TV, and there was like a Discovery Channel type a show on, and it was showing a surgeon who was operating on a young girl who had been born deaf, and the operation, the technique meant nothing to me. I didn't understand any of that, but what I do remember vividly is they showed this young girl when she woke up and she heard her voice for the first time, and the tears that came in her eyes. I thought that must be the greatest feeling in the world, to be able to do that for somebody. So right then and there, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to become a doctor. So those 15 minutes set me on a path that I've never wavered from since that time.
Why cardiothoracic heart surgery?
So first I thought I was going to be an internist because we had some experience with my mom, who was had a variant of hemophilia, so we had a lot of exposure to internists, and I saw the calming effect that he could have on my mom. But when I started medical school, in our third year, we go through different rotations, and when I got to the surgical rotation, there just seemed to be such enthusiasm among the residents at that time for the exciting things that you were seeing. There was a gunshot wound here or a stab wound here, and you were off to learn to take care of that. And then in my surgical rotation a little bit later on, I saw open heart surgery. And I saw all the machines and all of the gadgets and gizmos, and I thought, this is the fighter pilot of surgery. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I just kind of fell in love with it, and it just resonated with me that it's a very physics and science-driven specialty that I could relate to very, very quickly and easily, and I was hooked.
Talk to us about the miracle we each have called our human heart.
So it's an incredible organ. You have no idea until you can actually to see it, to touch it, and realize how it works and how efficient it is, that it's mind-boggling. For example, your aortic valve is just an absolute marvel of engineering. Our best engineers and scientists can't even come up with anything close to mimicking what your own native valve can do. We can stop the heart during heart surgery, where technically, if we just walked away from the operation at that point with your heart stopped, you would essentially be dead. But we can let just a little bit of blood get down to the heart from its blood supply, and within just a few seconds, that heart will start to beat again. And within just a minute or two, it's beating as vigorous as if it had never been stopped. These are just incredible things to witness, and I've got to witness it many thousands of times, and I'm in awe every time I still see it.
You've done over 8,000 heart surgeries. And at the start you say, Jack, before every one, I say 2 prayers. One that you shared with us about yourself, but you also say a prayer for each patient.
Yes.
What is that prayer?
Well, early in my career, I had done a few hundred hearts, and I came across a lady who again, in talking with heart surgery, there's not many surgeries that people undergo where death is a real possibility, and you have to discuss it with everybody. And it's one of those things that we have to find out. Okay, if something happens to you, who makes the decisions? How far do you want us to support you to recover? So it's a very intricate part of every heart surgery discussion with a patient. And I remember talking to this one lady once about it, and I could tell that she was a little uneasy, and I said, well, that's when I said, I've been a Christian many years, and I said, I think all this is in God's hands anyway. If He's ready for you, I can't keep you here. And if He's not, I can't send you there. And my job is just to do the best that I know how to do, and that's my commitment to you. And I said, and I always, I say a prayer for both you and me before every surgery. And she stopped and she goes, I don't care how many surgeries you've done. The fact that you would say a prayer for me means more to me than whether you've done thousands of heart surgeries. And I never forgot her telling me that. And when you're sick and death is a real possibility, most people really want there to be a greater power than themselves that really has their fate in their hands.
We're talking to one of the greatest cardiothoracic surgeons in the world. When we come back, we're going to ask him about the greatest physician of all time. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. Welcome back to Anything is Possible. I'm your host, Jack Krasula. We're with Dr. Phillip Robinson in 1975. A 15-minute encounter transformed his life and tens of thousands of others as well. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35, Doctor. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. Tell us about the greatest physician of all time.
I think those miracles were to authenticate his message. But he always reached out to those in need. He healed sickness. He fed thousands. He welcomed the down and out and included them. And I do think that I would like to have that kind of heart of compassion that he had. I write several letters. I've written several letters for people applying to medical school that I've known, and I said probably the word that I use more than anything else is that they have compassion. And I wish I had the same results that he had. Everyone was a Lazarus, but that's not been the case in my career. I have a few people that didn't make it, and you think about those all the time, and you carry those with you for the rest of your life. You remember things, but Christ was very important when we were growing up, and as I mentioned the other day, I think the hallmark of a real Christian is someone who fell in love with Christ. The words from a Catholic priest from Notre Dame, great dear friend of mine, and I love the heart and the compassion that he had, and I've always tried to mirror that compassion for people. And there's a book I read not several years ago called "If Disney Ran Your Hospital," and it was talking about why we are not compassionate people, and it struck me, and the gist of it was, once we start judging people, we lose our compassion for people. And one of the summaries of the book was that, remember, you're only one or two bad decisions away from being on the same boat. And so we're so judgmental, and Christ was not judgmental only to those who were arrogant and prideful. And those I've never tried to be, never wanted to be arrogant or prideful, but humble, because I think it is this is a gift that I was given. There's no way I should be doing what I was doing. You ask about my parents, and my father only went to the 3rd grade, and my mom only went to the 9th grade. So for them, their goal for us was just to finish high school. And they were happy that I had a job working on the assembly line, that I was a productive member of society. But that wasn't in the cards for me. This is the divine providence that you orchestrate this, a draft, a television show, this, and all of a sudden you're where you should be.
Speaking of divine providence, we were blessed to both know an iconic plastic surgeon by the name of Dr. Robert Poole. And he once said, "Jack, we cut, but God heals."
Oh, I've seen this many times. Heart surgery is all about statistics when you talk to patients about the percentage of this or that, but in reality, it either happens to you or it doesn't happen to you. And sometimes you can do everything right, and the patient doesn't make it. And sometimes you can encounter the worst things that you think could happen, but yet they'll survive and never miss a beat in their recovery, and you realize you're not really in control of anything. And here you do the best you can do, but there's just things you see that you say it's absolutely a miracle.
Speaking of not being in control, through the years, Dr. Phillip Robinson, you've performed many heart surgeries in Africa and the Philippines. Are there any differences?
There's a lot of differences. Typically, in those, although technically not a third world country, the Philippines, but they are an impoverished country. But certainly in Africa, the opportunities that are afforded to those people are so few and far between that it's heart-wrenching to see what they go through. When we were going to Africa, there was no heart surgery outside of Egypt and South Africa, and we were in Ethiopia thanks to a great physician. I was a good heart surgeon, but Dr. Asfa was a great human being with a huge, compassionate heart for his people. And he organized these trips at great expense to himself and his family. And so we went to Africa and Ethiopia and operated there. And I think the first trip down there, the oldest person that I operated on was 25 or 26. And frequently during the operations, we would lose power, and I've done heart surgery with someone holding a flashlight over my shoulder while people who run the heart-lung machine have to crank that by hand. So they have very, very little, but they were just so appreciative for what you did for them. And not that people in this country aren't appreciative. I get tremendous a number of cards at Christmas time and on birthdays thanking me for, as do most surgeons and probably physicians, another year with a father or a mother or a husband or a wife. It's so gratifying. The impact that what you do have on people's lives. But in order to get heart surgery over there was a lottery. There was 70 million people, and probably 3 million of them needed heart surgery, but we could only do 25. And the rest will die at a very early age, probably in their mid-40s, from rheumatic fever. But it's eye-opening in the resources that they don't have. The family brings food from home. The family is the physical therapist. The family does the laundry. The family wheels them to X-ray. It's very family-oriented, and they're involved in their care from day one, or else they don't get wheeled to X-ray, or they don't have food to eat, or they don't have clean sheets. And I've seen in the Philippines crowded emergency rooms where there are no more ventilators, and patients' families are having to mechanically, with a bag, ventilate their mother or father or daughter. It's just heart-wrenching to see what's available, and we have everything under the sun here in this country.
We're talking to Dr. Phillip Robinson. When we come back, we're going to ask him about modern-day angels. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR.
You've been listening to your inspirational fireside chat, Anything is Possible, for nearly 20 years.
This is Anything is Possible, and I'm Jack Krasula.
But what has Jack been up to lately? Search @AIP Speaker Series and find out. Jack has interviewed thousands of historical voices, some of whom have offered him their philosophy of life, like Tom Izzo.
And Tom writes, work hard, persistence always wins out, discipline is the highest form of love. Stay humble.
The great Ernie Harwell.
My aim is to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God.
And the voices of our generation.
I am reassured continuously that His unfathomable love and mercy are the greatest gifts of my life and my constant source of strength, reassurance, and guidance. His Holiness, Pope Francis.
@AIP Speakers Series is the YouTube channel where all of these jewels can be heard, including some of Anything is Possible's greatest guests.
And we're with Mitch Albom.
The Little Liar is really a book about truth and lies and the price we pay when we lie.
This is Anything is Possible, and with Tom Watson.
My father loved to play with the pros at the club. Developed a very quick friendship with Stan and played some golf with him. And then he would ask me to play golf with him and Stan.
Our guest this week was born with a rare disorder characterized by the absence of arms and legs. His name, Nick Vujicic.
Something that every human being actually deals with, Jack. It's the choice of continuing to believe or giving up.
And recordings of the AIP Speaker Series events at St. John's Resort. Go to YouTube and search @AIP Speaker Series. It's free. And remember,
Anything is possible.
Spohom. I'm Jack Krasula. This is Anything is Possible. We're talking to a modern-day Robert Young, Dr. Marcus Welby, MD, Dr. Phillip Robinson. Modern-day angels. Talk about the job our nurses do in these hospitals?
I was hoping that's where that would lead. If you were going to ask me had I seen angels, I would say no. But I've seen nurses. And they are absolutely amazing. We could not do what we do without them. When I operate on a patient, I'll spend 3 or 4 hours in the operating room with them. And I may see them for 5 or 10 minutes each day afterwards, as long as they're doing well. If someone has trouble, we see them more often. But for the rest of the day, it's the nurses that really are the caregivers for those patients. And I used to talk about quality in healthcare from a patient perspective. And I would say they didn't know whether I did the right operation or whether we were giving them the right drugs or anything like that. But they sure knew that if they needed help with their food or getting up to the bathroom or their pain medicine, that it's that nurse that's at their beck and call. And they really judged healthcare by how compassionate that nurse was to them. And, I told a story about Disney running your hospital a little earlier than that. And part of this is a bit of a summary, but it was, everyone wants a 5-star rating these days, and for a 5-star rating for a hospital, they did a survey, and the one trait that came out more than anything was that the nurses and the people there were compassionate towards them. Not that they were the smartest or that they were the most efficient, but they were compassionate. You just can't say enough about what a difference that makes to a patient. I remember I had to give a talk when I finished all my training on my most memorable case. And I started that talk. I was a fully trained cardiac surgeon at this point. But I described a case of someone who had a gallbladder attack and was having to have surgery. And I said that was my most memorable case because the patient was my mother. And I was now a family member sitting waiting in the family room. And you realize the angst that a family goes through when their loved one is behind these hidden walls and you don't know what's going on. But how if someone comes out and just says they're doing fine, and a lot of times that's a nurse that would come out and say that you just can't say enough about them. We could absolutely not do what we do without them.
Speaking of family, when you were back at the U of M, you had a lab partner, okay? Rebecca.
Yes.
And she thought you were Tom Cruise at the time, Robert Redford, okay? Let's fast forward.
I don't know about that. She thought I was kind of a nerd. She was a sorority girl, and I was bent on going to medical school. So while she was at parties, I was doing the lab work on Friday night. But I thought she was kind of cute the first time I saw her. But I didn't want to get too bogged down with and sidetracked by a girl. I had a mission that I was on, but we turned out to be just great friends for a couple years, and then it was while I was waiting to start to medical school that. It turned a little more than friendship. Very hard transition to make. I didn't want to lose such a great friend if she wasn't that interested. But she took a chance with me, and we've been married 45 years now with 5 kids.
3 sons, 2 daughters. Okay.
Yes.
The late, great Reverend Robert Schuller, Hour of Power, Garden Grove, California,
yes.
often said that the number one thing a dad can do for his children is to love their mom. We're a week before Father's Day. The number one thing a dad can do for his children is to love their mom. Why, Doctor?
When now I'm getting teary-eyed here. When my kids have all gotten married, we have 4 married kids. My youngest is not married. But for my sons and my daughters, always part of my toast is that I hope that they love their wife as much as I love their mother. Because you realize what a big part of your life she is, and I couldn't do what I do without her. She's been so supportive and understanding for my entire career. I can't tell you the number of birthdays I've missed and anniversaries and kids' things that I've never been to, but she's never resented. Funny story is, I'd been working all day. One night I got home about 9 o'clock at night, and we had just sat down. The Kinners had all gone down to, the kids had had dinner earlier and went to bed. So we were just sitting down to have dinner, just the two of us. And my pager went off, and I answered it, and they were telling me that there was a family that had been waiting for me all day. And I said, I can't, I just got home. Tell them I'll be there in the morning. I hung the phone up, and when I turned around, my wife had picked up my dinner and put it in the oven and said, you get back and see that family. If they've been waiting for you all day, don't make them wait any longer. So she's very understanding for my career, but couldn't have done it without her. It's a blessing.
From tens of thousands of people in Michigan, I say thank you. And thank you, Rebecca, as well.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Please join us next week. Until then, I'm Jack Krasula. Thanks for listening. Make it a great week, because with God, anything is possible. Spoke.
Believe in yourself.